Line it up. Line it up. Come on, let's go. Okay, let's take this exercise one more time and keep the tempo up. Okay, good rehearsal. Let's go out and play a good show now.
They came from all over the Midwest, drawn to Whitewater, Wisconsin for the confrontation of the summer, the dramatic meeting of some of the best drum and bugle corps in the world. Despite threatening skies, hundreds streamed into Warhawk Stadium on the University of Wisconsin Whitewater campus. They all had their favorites, units dear to the hearts of drum and bugle corps nuts from Illinois, Ohio, Wisconsin, Michigan, Iowa, all over the Midwest. Allegiances were worn on sleeves, on backs, anywhere, and the dark day was forgotten as the thrilling sights and sounds of preliminary competition overwhelmed all. Final order of appearance in the evening championship competition was determined in the afternoon, and there was no holding back, especially for the fans, who found every move and flash of horn and drum electric with emotion. The rain still threatens, but does not deter thousands as they stream into the evening championship. Tension is in the air. The stage is set for what is to be a struggle between outstanding musical and marching machines of exceptional ability and talent. It is time to find out who is best in the Midwest.
Good evening. I'm Pete Finney, and we're standing virtually on the edge of the field of battle for DCI Midwest Championship Drum Corps competition. This evening we're going to see literally hundreds of young men and women competing in drum corps competition, and with us is Professor Mike Leckrone, who is Director of Bands for the University of Wisconsin. He's going to be commenting on some of the intricacies of drum corps competition. Mike, you're back with us again. Welcome back.
Well, thank you. This is a great pleasure for me. This is a great kick. It's one of probably the finest contests of its kind anywhere in the country, and I'm always very pleased to be here. I'm really a band person, you might say, but I'm really quite intrigued with what happens out here on the drum corps competition. I'm a great follower, and I can't think that anybody can't help but appreciate what goes on out here on the field. Great talent and a lot of work.
There sure is. I don't think anyone who is exposed to this ever walks away the same as when he walked onto the field. We're going to have 10 corps in competition. We're going to see highlights of 8 of them. We're going to look at the entire show of 2 of them. And we're going to ask you to comment now for us briefly on some of these corps and really the beautiful job they do.
Be happy to.
The Guardsmen had the privilege of leading off tonight's competition, and they're the envy of the 13 other corps that they were able to eliminate from the finals. It's another fine corps from the Chicagoland area. They're very young, but they're gaining more and more respect in the drum corps world. Let's listen to some of their performance. This is the Pioneers from Milwaukee, and they're performing Temptation, a song that was first introduced on the marching field by the University of Michigan Band. This is another excellent Wisconsin corps with a swing style that always has great audience appeal. Rains really came down in the middle of the Capitol Freelancers presentation, and you can see the water bouncing off the drum heads and the bugles. But in the tradition of drum corps everywhere, the show went on, and the damp but enthusiastic crowd loved every moment of the rendition of Bully. The rain didn't last very long, and by the time the Phantom Regiment had made their appearance, it had almost completely stopped. This is a group that is sure to be one of the powers of drum corps, and they made a very dramatic flag presentation by combining the music of Wagner with some extremely spectacular color guard work. Cavaliers have the reputation of being the winningest group in all of drum corps history. They have 11 national titles to their credit. The Green Machine has always had an excellent drum line that features a flawless stick technique. Let's hear how the total percussion section has become such a vital part of the drum corps sound of today. The Racine Kilts are a perennial powerhouse in national competition, and Eric Whitmore, their drum major, has become a crowd favorite wherever the corps is performing. Here he shows off some of his conducting technique with a bit of Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. Very few musical selections this season have been able to generate the audience excitement that Kilts achieve with their flag work, soloists, and just sheer musical drive of their classy rollover Beethoven. Let's hear the rest of it. Drum corps competitions are won or lost by the execution of the individual members, and the lacrosse Blue Stars have developed a smooth, error-free style that makes them contenders in every contest they enter. Here they move into a finale formation that makes an impressive climax to their show. The Blue Devils are another California corps that have come virtually out of nowhere to challenge the best in the nation. The trademarks of all the Blue Devil productions are the excellent jazz phrasings of all the players, the fine blend of the horn line, and their spectacular coverage of the field with rifles, flags, and just superb musicianship. I'd like to watch a bit more of the Blue Devils to illustrate how drill designers are using the space and the musicians for much more highly refined movements. This is one area where drum corps most differs from the marching band. In fact, it's become more like a choreography. And you'll notice the special movements all fit the big band sound of this very fine corps.
Okay, Mike, any overall comments on the corps we've seen so far?
Oh, that's just got to be the best competition I've seen at this contest in a long time. It's just super.
Okay, fine. You know, one of the things I've been interested in for a long time is just how much money it takes to put a corps like the ones we're seeing tonight on the road and into this kind of a competition. Earlier today, we talked with Jerry Seawright, who's with the Blue Devils, and we asked him where the money comes from.
Jerry, you transport over 100 people around the country in a tour that lasts for at least a month or maybe more. Where does the money come from to finance your organization?
The parent organization primarily raises the money through fundraising events, all the way from the usual fundraising events, papers, collecting papers, aluminum and candy, and the usual fundraising activities.
And this goes on year-round?
Yes, it has to.
How much money do you think, do you budget in round figures for a year's activities for your corps?
Well, we have a budget in excess of $100,000 this year.
What does that
Gross
include?
budget, excuse me.
Gross budget.
Yes.
It includes a lot of instruments, a lot of costly instruments, and we have some of them laid out before us. Can you talk a little bit about this and the cost of these instruments, maintenance, and so on?
I'll be glad to. This particular instrument over here, a contrabass, the contrabass is around $1,000. We have 6 of these.
Let me hold that up.
Yeah. They're $1,000 a piece. We have 6 of those. The triple drums, which is a fairly new drum in drum corps, runs about $400 a quarter to $475. The timp, marching timp, runs about $180 to $210, depending upon the size. And the smaller instrument over here, the baritone, is about $375 a piece.
And how about this little drum here?
This one's $195 now. And we carry 22 of these.
How about maintaining these? Is it a costly item just to keep these things working in correct order?
A constant repair and constant replacement of heads. The wear and tear that a bugle gets compared with a musical instrument, for instance, as a trumpet or a cornet, there's just no comparison. These things get wear from repeated practice. I'm amazed that they hold up as well as they do under the circumstances.
Well, the budget that is in excess of $100,000, you can't sell enough candy or enough popcorn or enough aluminum. You've got to look to other sources, don't you? How about prize money? Is that part of the funding for a corps such as yours, or any corps?
Oh yes, it's a large part of it. That's what keeps these corps going, are the prize monies.
The DCI does have some guaranteed money. Is that what helps to keep you going? You've got to win in order to go big with the prize money, don't you?
That's correct. That's exactly right. And DCI's guarantees that they give us certainly helps us. We have to have it to move this many people across the country or into the neighboring town. We have to have that kind of money nowadays to move 130 people.
So in other words, the kids that are in this corps, they don't buy their instruments. You provide the instruments for them.
We provide everything: uniform, instruments, and maintenance.
Okay, how about the buses now? You are a corps, there are several corps, but not all of them can afford it. But you do have your own buses. Where does the money come for that?
Well, we found that traveling across the country, which we've done now, this is our third year back east, we found that by chartering, the expense was so great, but we could take the same funds and buy buses with them. So we bought buses. We have an investment of some $35,000 in our buses, which they're older buses, but still it's a lot of money, and the maintenance on them is unbelievable, just trying to keep them running.
I'm sure you, as executive director of the Corps of the Blue Devils, have a lot of support, a lot of people behind you who are working. How important is it that you have support groups, parents, I presume, other interested organizations and groups?
It would be impossible. It would be absolutely impossible to run this organization without the support and the help that I get from other people, their parents, and my backup staff, my assistant managers. The number is almost too many to elaborate on here.
How about yourself? How much time would you estimate you put in a year as executive director?
I think that figure would be almost impossible to estimate. I think I devote about as much time to this activity as I do my full-time job.
I see.
And I believe that's very conservative.
And finally, I guess we'd comment briefly on just the job of moving yourself and this corps across the country. And chatting earlier, you said you had trouble the other day remembering where you had just come from. Does that get to be typical corps problem
Really?
about this time of year, mid-August or
That's
early
true.
August? Thank you, Jerry, very much for being with us.
Well, it's been my pleasure, and thank you very much.
We're back to the action on the field now, and of course the corps that's coming up next has a spot in almost everyone's heart, and I know for you and me a special place, the Madison Scouts. What about the Madison Scouts?
Well, they're a corps which just overpowers you with their sound. They've got one of the great horn lines, really, and tonight they're trying a little strategy. They finished second, but they're the defending champions, so they elected to go in the second to last spot instead of ending up in the final spot. This gives them a chance to show off their audience appeal before we get to the Santa Clara Vanguard.
An interesting sidelight on that is that the Santa Clara has done this to the Scouts a couple of times.
They did it to them in the 1974 DCI Championship and won, so we'll see what it does for the Scouts tonight.
Okay, Mike, let's step back now and watch the Madison Scouts.
Thank you.